They told you to follow the rules. Study hard. Get a safe job. Avoid risk. Don't fail publicly. Don't disappoint people. Stay realistic. Stay comfortable. Stay quiet. And slowly, without even realizing it, you built a prison out of invisible rules. Rules that looked responsible. Rules that sounded wise. Rules that earned approval. But not freedom. Because one of the hardest truths about life is this: the same mindset that helped you survive your past may now be destroying your future. Most people never question the internal laws running their lives. They wake up every morning obeying mental commands they never consciously chose. Don't speak too loudly. Don't dream too big. Don't upset people. Don't take chances. Don't fail. Don't look foolish. And after years of repetition, those rules stop sounding like fear. They start sounding like identity. That's why so many people feel trapped without understanding why. Their life becomes predictable, emotionally safe, socially acceptable, but internally empty. Because deep down, the soul knows when it is shrinking. You can feel it in quiet moments. Late at night, when the distractions disappear. When you stare at the ceiling wondering why your life feels heavier than it should. You are exhausted not because life is impossible, but because you are carrying a version of yourself that no longer fits who you are becoming. And the terrifying part is this: most people will protect their limitations more aggressively than their potential. Because changing your life requires breaking emotional agreements you made with fear years ago. Maybe your rule is that you must always be liked, so you stay silent in rooms where your voice should rise. Maybe your rule is that you cannot fail, so you never attempt anything worthy of your true potential. Maybe your rule is that struggle means something is wrong, so the moment life becomes difficult, you retreat back into comfort. But greatness has never lived inside comfort. Comfort is seductive because it removes uncertainty, but it also removes transformation. A ship is safest in the harbor, but ships were not built for harbors, and neither were you. Somewhere along the way, society convinced people that safety is success. But safety without purpose becomes slow spiritual suffocation. You see it everywhere. People with talent afraid to begin. People with dreams trapped in routines they secretly hate. People smiling publicly while quietly collapsing internally. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack capability, but because their internal rules were built for protection, not expansion. And eventually, every human being faces the same painful crossroads. Will you continue protecting the person you used to be, or become the person your future is demanding? Because growth is violent in invisible ways. It requires you to disappoint old versions of yourself. It requires leaving behind identities that once kept you emotionally safe. It requires standing alone for a while, confused, uncertain, misunderstood. Transformation is not pretty. It is uncomfortable conversations, lonely mornings, silent discipline, repeated failure, the painful death of excuses. And that is exactly why most people avoid it. They want confidence before action, certainty before movement, guarantees before commitment. But life does not work that way. The people you admire most were not fearless. They simply stopped obeying the rules that kept them small. They acted while uncertain. They spoke while afraid. They continued while exhausted. That is the hidden difference between average lives and extraordinary ones. Extraordinary people do not have fewer fears. They simply refuse to worship them. Think about how many opportunities die inside human beings every single day. Books never written, businesses never started, truths never spoken, love never expressed, potential never realized. All because someone obeyed a mental rule created years ago during a moment of pain, rejection, embarrassment, or fear. A child gets laughed at once and creates the rule: never stand out. A teenager gets rejected and creates the rule: never be vulnerable. An adult experiences failure and creates the rule: never risk again. And then decades pass, not because life lacked possibility, but because fear became philosophy. This is why self-awareness changes everything. The moment you begin questioning your internal rules, you reclaim power. You begin realizing that many of your thoughts are inherited. Many of your fears are conditioned. Many of your limitations are rehearsed stories repeated. So often they started feeling true. But truth and familiarity are not the same thing. Just because a thought has lived in your mind for years does not mean it deserves permanent residence there. And maybe that is the real battle of adulthood. Not conquering the world, but conquering the invisible architecture inside your own mind. Because success is rarely blocked by lack of information. Most people already know what they should do. Wake up earlier. Become disciplined. Take responsibility. Speak honestly. Work consistently. Face discomfort. Stop procrastinating. Protect their energy. Take action. The real problem is emotional resistance. The old rules still whispering. Stay safe. Stay hidden. Stay comfortable. Stay who you've always been. But your future cannot be built by the same rules that created your current frustration. At some point, you must decide, is temporary comfort worth permanent regret? Because one day life will ask you a brutally honest question. What did you do with the potential you were given? And excuses will not comfort you then. Not age, not fear, not circumstances, not bad luck, only truth. And the truth is, your life changes the moment you stop negotiating with the habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns that are destroying your future. That is where self-respect begins. Not in motivation, not in inspiration, but in decision. The decision to stop betraying your own potential. The decision to become someone your future self would recognize with pride. And yes, they will feel uncomfortable, because every level of growth demands a new identity. You cannot become disciplined while remaining emotionally addicted to distraction. You cannot become powerful while remaining committed to approval. You cannot build an extraordinary life while obeying ordinary fears. The old rules must break, not because you hate yourself, but because you finally respect yourself enough to evolve. And maybe that is what real success actually is. Not money alone, not status alone, not applause alone, but becoming strong enough mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to stop living beneath your true capacity. So if something inside you feels restless lately, if your soul feels tired of repetition, if you feel the quiet pain of unrealized potential, good. That discomfort may be the beginning of your awakening, because the life you want is often hiding behind the rules you are most afraid to break. And the moment you stop asking permission to become who you were meant to be, everything changes. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't ignore that feeling. Like this video. Comment the rule you know you must break. Subscribe for more cinematic journeys into discipline, mindset, leadership, emotional intelligence, and self-mastery. And most importantly, do not die living by rules that were never meant to define your destiny.